Hi, this is Dana with hashtag CDC Whistleblower, and I'm here with Tim at Tanner's Dad, which, funny enough, I actually call him Tanner sometimes. I was listening to some of the videos. We have gotten a little bit of feedback on the videos, so we want to switch directions just a wee bit. We recognize now that the whole time we've been doing these videos, we've been specifically targeting the people who are basically the hashtag CDC Whistleblower Army. So what we do is we pull up the feed every day, and then we look at it to try to determine how we might need to adjust the Army to have the feed be the best tool for what we're trying to do, which is change the world so that they begin to peek at the vaccine data that's out there so that they can make an educated choice. And one thing that's become clear is we need to have you understand that it's called Trends and Tips, but really what it is it's a trends update. So, for example, today is January 6th, and we're looking at the feed, and we're going to update how we might need to shift what we're doing. And it might seem like a contradiction from one of the previous days, but that's because it keeps drifting in different directions. So say good morning, Tim.
Good morning, everyone.
So now I'll go through the feed, and you just kind of graciously analyze. I'm seeing a lot of these conversations today, which is really exciting. If I scroll way down, one of our tweeters was engaging all the news stations. It looks like she's gone to some news feed and is just going into every news feed and putting questions, which looked fabulous. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get down to it. We've had a lot of activity today, but go ahead, Tim. Give us some tips this morning.
Absolutely. At this point, we should be at a level where it is a news story. At 680 million views, impressions, we should be able to talk a local news reporter into talking about what the parents are talking about and giving a little bit of the parents' view as saying what is going on with the health of our children at this point.
So at any point, you could talk to somebody on the street, and it's been a while that this has been happening, and you could say, there's a huge story breaking. It's at Twitter. It's at hashtag CDC Whistleblower. You don't even have to go to Twitter for the story. You can just Google hashtag CDC Whistleblower, and you're going to be blown away by what's going on if you've missed it. And Tim, don't you also think that we've gotten a few news reports for some people? One is at tinyurl.com/breakabillion1, and they covered the story, and we're going to start seeing local news stations, local newspapers start to cover this, and then it's going to work its way up. So you basically use the ones that are out now as bait for the bigger ones, because there's going to be some bigwig who's going to want to break this story and potentially lose their job, is how I see it. Okay, so let's go over this feed more. What tips can you give our tweeters to be more effective for the CDC whistleblower cause, but also be more effective at having Twitter accounts that are valuable to them and the people they're trying to teach?
Again, connecting to current events. Today is the first day Congress is back in session. Congressman Posey did say that he was going to have a hearing for us, and so he has all the documents, and so we should begin the pressure to say, okay, you're back in session now, no more excuses, it's time to investigate justice in January. And those sort of themes should be permeating the feed at this point. Really, when you're getting up to 680 million impressions and shooting for 1 billion, this is to the point where we're influencing voters across the country and people across the world.
So this is, Tim is at Tanner's Dad, and he has been tweeting for many years and has a real style that he uses. So he doesn't use quite as many visuals as some of our newer tweeters that we're trying to have fill the feed. But here's the article. It's very comprehensive. It's very in your face. And it's a great tool to use with any other media so that they can see that the story is breaking. The question is, when will they jump on board? I also think it's true that 2015 is going to be the year that this story will be something everybody talks about, and encouraging people to be on the right side of history on this, that they did something and they can tell their grandkids, no, I was tweeting. I was tweeting. Here's she's doing a fantastic job. So see, she would. What do you think of? Is there any advice here? She went to something that had children in it, but nothing about vaccines, just about flu. And she came in. Anything you would change about this? Maybe add a link. What could help with this, Tim?
We go back to the basic 5 elements of the CDC whistleblower hashtag, a tiny URL that's relevant, a visual interaction, and then a call to action. If you can have those 5 elements always in your mind when you're setting up a tweet, no matter what topic you are on, that really helps develop the feed for today. And I really do have tweets that people reference from 6 years ago. And so those tweets from 6 years ago that are the most meaningful are the ones that have relevant links, are reportable, reproducible.
So the things you would change is, even if you're initiating a conversation on somebody else's tweet, like an ABC News, NBC News, Celebrity Apprentice, whatever, you would still follow the basic guidelines of including the hashtag, including a reference link, and including a visual?
Correct. The only time that we've asked you not to use the CDC whistleblower is if you're live interacting with somebody on the first go round where you're trying to draw them into the conversation. If you notice, I interacted this morning with Mark McMillan, who was a professional football player, and he came back and he interacted and said it's awesome that we got 680 million views, but then he didn't use the CDC whistleblower hashtag. So the second go around, to get their impressions to count, to get the count towards the total number of tweeters and users and impressions up, we have to get them to use the CDC whistleblower hashtag.
So just to clarify, if you see someone that you think, wow, this is someone who could really help us out and really could start tweeting for us, and you want to have a conversation with that person versus bring them over to the party, you're standing outside having a cigarette, not that you would do that, but you want to have a private conversation with them, you just don't include the hashtag. But the only value to the movement is once they retweet something with the hashtag. So you have to switch gears once you bring them in. You have to take them into the party.
Let's address that for 1 second. Let's say you were outside having a conversation with 3 people, and you're the 5th person that runs up. You wouldn't run up and say, CDC whistleblower, be my friend, follow me, follow me, follow me. You would be looked at like you were a crazy person. And so what these are doing are you don't attack the person that potentially could come in, no matter their previous affiliations, no matter what they do for a living, no matter what they've said in the past. These are still people with larger number of followers that have social media influence that are live at the moment. So in the past, a lot of times you feel like, oh, nobody's going to interact with you because they don't respond. But there are times when I'm tweeting directly to a person that I know is on the live feed, and then somebody runs in and says, oh, she'll never respond because she's part of this organization. Don't stamp on somebody when they go in.
Well, and the other and we've learned our lesson a couple times now with the kind of put them on blast type of thing, which I had completely misunderstood in the beginning, the concept of targets. Like when we targeted Rosie, I now realize that we had become, that which we don't like, which is just this sort of automated attack thing. It all should be this personal thing. So in one good way that I've started to look a little bit is I find some of these people that are big impressions people, and then I look through their followers. And when I find another follower that has a large following as well, I go to their feed, and if they look like they're, liberty or health or GMOs or chemtrails or any of that stuff all aligns and dovetails perfectly with the CDC whistleblower. So then I would just initiate a conversation with them, again, without the CDC whistleblower, share something about it, and then once it feels like they're on the right page, you slowly try to bring them back in the party, is all I would say. Okay, here's the simpler stats. Let me see if I can get the ones for today. So we're again, tell us a little bit about where we're headed time-wise, Tim, if you could.
With a large celebrity endorsement, this could be done today. But realistically, we're looking at about January 15th and about February 1st as the timeline between those 2 weeks. I think realistically we could have it by January 15th, but more likely, in my mind, I say February 1st. And again, that revolves around what we were shooting for all along, was justice in January, the push through Congress, and then also through the power to the people, that we're the ones actually having the conversation with the doctors, and we're hearing all sorts of feedback from doctors now that we're making a dent in their practices.
Which is good. We want to hear when you see doctors go on there. I love the concept of, if there's any questions you have, let me know. If you have vaccine questions, let me know. Because bottom line is, most of us have been researching this, years, if not decades, and we can answer almost any question with a tiny URL and a meme, which is another thing that I think people could start doing, which would be helpful. If you see people tweet valuable, like it's a valuable tweet in concept, but it doesn't have the references to back up what they say, come in their comments and just put the tiny URL there, and then it just became as valuable as if it had it originally. Here's our I'm going to wake her up in 5 minutes.
Kyla didn't fall asleep until 3 o'clock.
So she's not going to go to school.
I'm just giving you information.
Okay, sorry. Family life. Okay, so this is simpler. Another thing, Tim, that I've noticed is our people who are getting the highest impressions other than you changes almost every day. So that's another good thing, that we have a lot of people that have participated and are participating. You can always go to this line. This is at tinyurl.com, buy a bra, and then you just manipulate the dates. And you can go back to, let's say you go back to 9/14 and 10 and 9/15. You'll see the people. Let me just do it really fast. You'll see who was participating if I mess this up, call me out, because I'm not. So let's do.
While you're flipping through, I'll just put in a little disclaimer that we've been studying this for decades, me personally for over 13 years, but never construe anything that I say as medical advice. Our whole message is the fact that we want you to educate yourself before you vaccinate. I still have a lot of questions when I read a package insert, when I read the ingredients, when I try to get unbiased information to be explained to me. Most of the time, when I start asking specific questions, the doctor has to go back and research more. So again, always ask the doctor where the source of the information is coming from, and be very specific in your questions.
Again, no medical advice. The only thing I've ever wanted people to do is look at the research that's already there. And that's the thing that's gotten buried throughout this. But so I put in some dates that were really, really early on in this. It was back in October, September. And here's a whole group of people that have 75% of these people have fallen off of the CDC whistleblower bandwagon. And it might be a good idea today to just start going through the dates on Simpler and start targeting in a good way with a single tweet for these people, some of these folks who were in this fight in the beginning. Let me go back to, where are we here? I don't know how to... Let me go back. Okay, so this one got too long, but I think it's good. We're still doing fantastic. We're still set to break 1 billion and break history. We already broke history with 500, million. People usually say 1,000 and just to give you an idea of how powerful this, I had someone who, in a separate area than vaccines, but on the health front, had somebody come in and put an article about vaccines and how they're bad and all this stuff. And she came back at that person with all the stuff that she got from me through the CDC whistleblower, and the person pulled the article within 24 hours. It's like they're coming in with a match and we're coming in with a blowtorch. That's how powerful this CDC whistleblower thing is. So anything else you want to say in closing? The feed's looking fantastic, don't you think?
Keep up the great work. I'm praying for your family and our country always. Again, keep up the great work.
It's amazing. Great job, everybody. Keep it up. Thank you. Happy New Year.